How's it going, Vault Hunters, and welcome back to another Borderlands 2 Legendary Weapons Guide. Today, we're going to be covering the Hyperion legendary pistol known as the Logan'S gun. Now, the Logan'S gun can only come in Fire Element and is a base game item, which means no DLCs are required for you to obtain this item. Now, the red text for this item reads, Gun, Gunner, and if I had to make any character recommendations for you to use this item on, I would say everybody, due to this being one of the best utility items in the game. And please note that the name of your Logan'S gun may be different to mine, but it'll always be some variation of the Logan'S gun. Now, to get our very own Logan'S gun, we first need to head to our nearest fast travel station and head to the location known as Tundra Express. Now, once you load into the area, open up your map, scroll up to the top right, and within the blue circle will be another location that we have to head to known as End of the Line. Now, before this area can even appear on your map, you will have to progress through the main campaign quest known as A Train to Catch. Now, unfortunately, this location is not accessible through the fast travel station, and you will have to travel there by foot. But the good news is, once you've entered the location End of the Line, you will now spawn there every time you save quit until you decide to leave the location. And if you ever wish to return, you will have to go there on foot once again. Now that we've reached the correct location, that being End of the Line, once we open up our map and scroll down a bit, within the red circle, we'll be finding the enemy known as Wilhelm. Now, Wilhelm is a main campaign boss fight, which means you will naturally run into him as long as you are just progressing through the main campaign. He is a loader bot type enemy, so despite the fact that he has a giant red HP health bar for being a boss, he has a resistance to fire damage and a weakness to corrosive damage. Wilhelm has a 5% chance of dropping you a Logan'S gun, but note that Wilhelm also has a second legendary that can drop instead of the Logan'S gun at 5%, that being the Rolling Thunder. And there is no other dedicated drop sources for the Logan'S gun other than Wilhelm himself. Now, the closest non-unique item in the game to the Logan'S gun is going to be a purple Hyperion pistol with matching parts, element, and prefix. As we can see, the purple counterpart actually has very superior stats when it comes to the overall just damage, accuracy, and fire rate compared to the Logan'S gun. The Logan'S gun does have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to elemental damage, but with most item cards, it doesn't tell the full story, so let's look at the Logan'S gun's unique effect. Now, the Logan'S gun shoots a unique projectile that explodes on impact and continues to travel through enemies until hitting a surface. Once it hits a surface, there will be a small explosion after a small delay. Now, as you can see here, my shots are penetrating through the loader and hitting the wall, where you can then see that small little additional explosion. Now, as usual, to test the damage of this item, I'm going to use my phase lock method, and we have the three main damage variants, that being 2-for-1, fire rate, damage. I have a grog nozzle just for slag, a sham shield for survivability, crossfire for more slag, and an elemental relic. I have no skills, and my badass bar is disabled. And as you can see, the damage is not that great, but we'll go one more time with slag. Now, as you just saw, the damage on this item is pretty bad, but thankfully we're not going after this item for its damage, but instead for the utility that it brings. Now, the cool thing about this item is that if you pair it with any absorption shield and shoot at your feet, you will actually regenerate rockets, which is huge because at endgame, rockets become very expensive. Now, something to note, you want to go after this gun at the lowest level possible so you don't deal any damage to yourself while regenerating rockets. Now, before we move on, I want to compare my god roll versus Logan'S god roll and the differences between the two. It seems that Logan'S prefers that Hyperion grip for that matching grip bonus, as well as the fire rate prefix, versus ours that has that Vladoff grip in the 2-for-1 prefix. Now, I'm definitely going to recommend my god roll over Logan'S due to mine being built for the best possible rocket regen you can get, versus Logan'S, which I am not too sure if this is a regen roll or if this is a DPS roll, which we know you don't want to build for DPS because this gun has terrible damage. But now that we know everything that we need to know about this gun, we can break down the god roll. Now, the first part we're going to be looking for is going to be the barrel, and luckily we don't have to worry about it too much due to it being locked as the Hyperion Logan'S gun barrel. This is what's going to make the gun fire its unique projectile. Now, the next part we're going to be looking for is going to be the prefix or accessory. In this case, we're going to be looking for the 2-for-1 prefix. This is going to make it so that we fire 2 shots for every 1 shot fired. This is going to help maximize how fast we can regenerate rockets. And the next part we're going to be covering is going to be the grip. In this case, we are going to be looking for a Vladoff grip. This is going to give us an increase to our overall fire rate, which is just going to help with even more rocket regen, with a small hit to our overall recoil recovery and damage, which doesn't really matter because we're not going for damage. And the last part we're going to be looking at is going to be the sights, which does not matter or affect stats in any way, so pick whatever one you personally prefer. So that's pretty much going to do it for me when it comes to covering this gun. As usual, I try and show all these items off in their most bare bones state so you as a player can determine whether or not it is worth going after. And I have to say, like, this really is one of the best items in the game, just purely due to the rocket regen. Now, there is other ways you can regenerate rockets, but you might as well just get it because pistol ammo is so cheap and there's just so much of it. Now, you actually can do a big chunk of damage with this gun, but it takes a little bit of time to get used to. You kind of need to angle it to where you're shooting the enemy, but it's going through them and landing near their feet, because that secondary explosion, when it hits like a solid surface, is where majority of the damage comes from, which you unfortunately don't get to see because I was phase locking the enemy the whole time. And I do think I probably would have defeated Knuckle Dragger when she was slagged if I just never used phase lock and just shot at her feet. But I still recommend you just mainly use it for ammo regen. Once again, characters that I would recommend this for is just everybody. It's just a great utility tool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time, Vault Hunters.